PC meeting to order. It's the 204th meeting of the Equal Employment Practices Commission. May I have a vote on the minutes, please?
I move that we approve the minutes of September 9th, 2016.
And do I have a second?
I second.
The minutes of September 9th, 2016 have been voted on and approved. The next piece on the agenda is the audit status report.
Hi, how are you? Morning. Thank you so much. Morning.
Could someone please report on the audit status?
Okay, so we're starting new audits in the beginning of December. Well, actually, the audit letters are going to go out this month. However, the agencies that have been audited and are currently in compliance monitoring are the Conflicts of Interest Board, the Business Integrity Commission, the Department of Design and Construction, the Housing Development Corporation, the Office of the Actuary, Civilian Complaint Review Board, City Commission on Human Rights, Department of Correction, Borough Manhattan Community College, Bronx Community College, Coastal Community College, Kingsborough Community College, LaGuardia Community College, Office of the Bronx County District Attorney, Office of the Kings County District Attorney, Office of the Queens County District Attorney, Office of the Richmond County District Attorney, Fire Department, the Department of Parks and Recreation, the Office of the Bronx County Public Administrator, the New York County Public Administrator, the Office of the Kings County Public Administrator, and the Office of the Richmond County Public Administrator. Those agencies, 20, are currently in the monitoring phase of their audits, and later on, Marie will give a compliance monitoring status with 4 other agencies that are also.
How many audits have we completed this year? Or do you believe will be completed by the end of the year?
Including the compliance monitoring period, this will be 15, and the other 20, I'm anticipating should be complete by the end of the year.
So you're talking about 35?
Or Marie will be able to say how many.
Some won't, because the compliance period ends either in January or February, so it won't be counted for this year.
But you have, so you probably are close to 35, having completed 35.
If all of the agencies complete their monitoring period, it would be 35, but we don't think that's gonna happen.
So somewhere in the
So-
top 20s,
So we're thinking it may be in the 20s.
high 20s. But given that for many years, we never reached that number and reached our, if you will, charter requirement that we audit out of all the agencies, we audited them once every 4 years. We are continuing to do that while we are doing a multiplicity of other tasks that are part of also our charter mandate.
Right.
So we're still meeting our numbers.
Well, in terms of meeting the numbers, I just want to make clear that we've gotten to every agency that we're auditing within the past 4 years.
Yep.
I mean, we're back to getting to agencies in probably 3 years. So that's why we have, Meredith did a presentation for the last commission meeting about the research projects. And that's why we're looking to using some of the audit information to now do research projects.
To do things more intensely.
Right, to delve deeper into what are
Well, to
the
look at
prevalent
glass
issues.
ceilings for one thing.
Right. So,
Okay.
so as we, I guess, approach the end of the year in the next commission meeting, I anticipate that at least half of these would be
Completed.
completed within the compliance month.
Yeah.
Is that okay? Safe to say? Yeah.
Well, I would think most of the district attorneys don't have much on them anyway, having been back to them from time to time. But it's just, or the community colleges for that matter, being fairly, I mean, my recollection is the last time I went through audit, there wasn't a whole lot that they had to do in terms of compliance. So,
We're doing selection and recruitment audits now, so it's a
Could
little
be
more
too.
intricate. But I would say that we haven't had any huge hiccups.
No, there aren't any particular red flags, I suspect. Anyway, we'll see.
But we should be starting at least another, I think, 25 agencies by the end of this month.
So that goes
Initiating
into next year, so you're looking at, again, meeting the same
Right.
number criterion if that was a criterion. Well, I, on behalf of the other commissioners, they may or may not agree with me, want to applaud all the hard work that you guys are doing. What we are doing is making certain that the playing is level for women, minorities, and even for men. But I'm not concerned about them so much.
Oh, no,
We're
we are concerned about all New York City employees. And potential employees, thank you.
That's true.
So,
But I'm showing my prejudice.
the remaining, the audits that have completed compliance for this meeting, Marie's going to talk about next.
There are 4 agencies that have completed the compliance monitoring process, and that is the Business Integrity Commission,
The what
the
business?
Business Integrity Commission, the New York County District Attorney's Office,
Thank you.
the Queensbury Community College, and Teachers Retirement System. And Teachers Retirement System was a long process. Alicia and I did a lot of hand-holding and walking through the process. If you recall, they were from the last audit cycle, but they finally completed compliance for this quarter.
Can I call for a vote on the compliance report?
All in favor?
No, you have to read them.
Oh, the resolutions? Okay. Resolution 2016/831C11, determination of compliance monitoring period by the Business Integrity. Resolution 2016/901C-13, determination of compliance monitoring period required by the Office of the New York County District Attorney. Resolution number 2016-464C-14, determination of compliance monitoring period required by the Queensborough Community College. Resolution 2016/041C-15, determination of compliance monitoring period required by the Teachers Return System. All in favor?
Aye.
I second.
Now, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Those resolutions have been passed. And now all we have to do is sign them. Okay. Marie, you want to report on the agencies currently in compliance monitoring, the
Yes,
20
there-
that we just discussed?
We have 20, but I'm not going to read it again because we already read
don't
it into
have
the
to.
record.
So many here.
There are 4 agencies that I know have identified issues and have expressed their concerns with us and told us what's going on. Those 4 agencies are King's Public Administrator, Richmond Public Administrator, Civilian Complaint Review Board, and Bronx Community College. For King's County Public Administrator, we recently had a conference call with them, and they requested an extension on compliance. The Public Administrator's Office, they administer estates for those persons who are deceased who are without a will, and they answer to the surrogate court. And right now, they're going through an internal audit with the surrogate court, and there's one person who handles the EEO as well as that audit, so that's why they've requested an extension. And I think that letter should be coming soon, so that's why they're having some issues complying with some of the corrective actions. The next agency is Richmond Public Administrator. They didn't have a computer for a while. We had to send them a paper format for them to write it back to us, and it was taking forever. They recently obtained a computer, but they still haven't responded to the corrective actions. And I believe Executive Director Sharice sent a letter to the agency head letting them know that there's a delay in the process and they need to answer or determination of noncompliance will be issued. We still haven't heard back from Richmond County Public Administrator.
Otherwise, I
We
understand.
sent the
Yeah.
letter last
week.
week,
Yeah.
I think around Thursday or Friday.
And Civilian Complaint Review Board, we also had a conference call with them, and right now they're completed 2 out of 13 corrective actions, but they didn't have a general counsel and their HR personnel quit, so they're trying to hire new people. That's what caused the delay in answering the compliance monitoring reports. But what we've done is assign them specific corrective actions to complete. So instead of trying to do everything at once, here do 4, report on the 4, and then next month we'll assign 3 more. And so far that's been working, and they've been complying with that because it's more manageable that way. And Bronx Community College, the last agency, they completed 1 out of 7 corrective actions. And they just recently told us that their chief diversity officer is on leave, and right now they have an interim officer. So, but they're still working on it, and the chief diversity officer, the interim chief diversity officer, is now informed of the audit and is willing to comply as well. And we have one agency that I believe, well, they're complete. The only thing that's left is the final memorandum, and that's Department of Design and Construction. So by next month, you should be seeing the resolution on the agenda. And I believe 2 more agencies will be complete next month as well. That's Housing Development Corporation and Parks and Recreation. They're both halfway through the audit, but the only thing that's left is the assessment standards. And I usually recommend to the agencies that they do the assessment standards last, because it's the longest and they can work towards it towards the end. So they each have, I think, 3 or 4 corrective actions left, and they may be done by next month.
Okay. So based on that, you're carrying about 13 into next year?
And I think that their
And what's the
compliance
chances of those completing in January?
for the January ones, I would say about 75% of the agencies will. I'm concerned about the agencies that have only completed 1 corrective action. That gives me pause. But the rest of the agencies are still complying and they're still answering. It's just whatever they've supplied doesn't really address the corrective action, so it won't be accepted. But they're
I'm
still
just trying to get a sense of what we're looking at in terms of a final number for this year. That's all. Okay, next we're up to Audit Analyst Unit, Team Central. You're on?
Yes.
It's me. It's you.
You need the lights then?
Yes.
Wearing a different hat. We never did figure out my employee status.
Oh, is that true?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I still don't get a 1099. Sorry.
So as you know, Teammate is fully deployed and operable. The 2016 audits were assigned via team schedule, conducted in EWP,
Teammate is fully
deployed.
How long did it take this baby to do? 3 years?
Probably at least 2 years.
It was a long time coming, and
It might have
then
been, it was 3?
implementation took a long time too. So
3 years.
I think it might have been 3 years.
I think 3 years is a fair.
I think 3 years is a fair number. And that's that's after we were talking about it for another couple before. Then she had to find the money.
So
Then
to
she had to find
Sharice's
a
point
supplier.
earlier about how fast we're getting through the audits, we can
Outstanding.
give some credit to the fact that it's automated.
Okay.
So the 2016 audits were almost fully conducted in EWP. The implementation of the outstanding corrective actions is currently being monitored in Team Central for all the agencies except for 4. There's 3 community colleges and 1 public administrator. And that's not the one that Marie was talking about earlier that didn't have the
So
computer.
Marie's talking about how she knows whether or not they've completed a corrective action or where they are in the corrective action. Is product and issue tracking in there that?
Definitely gonna get into that.
Okay.
Okay, so this is Teammate, and I'm gonna go into briefly what each of these modules does, and then I'm gonna show you in depth what EWP and Team Central does, because that's where we do the heavy work. So
Okay,
Team Admin is for the administrators, Sharice and I. For the most part, we create IDs and reset passwords. Team Risk is used to evaluate the motive for an audit. So you can create an assessment, score an individual or global risk on a risk could be, for example,
Unutilization.
or because the city council said so.
Right. Basically, the audit type.
Okay. So Team Schedule and Team Schedule Web. Web is just like the backup for the desktop module. Team Schedule is where projects are assigned to an analyst. You can also create schedules, schedule resources, analysts are called resources, and assign managers and leads to a project. A project is an audit. Team Tech, where is that? That's the dark red one, is where you can capture the time spent on a project and the cost associated with that time. We don't use that one yet, but it's there for us to take advantage of if we need to. The Team Store is the data warehouse. That's where it's pseudo shared drive. It's where we house all of the information, all of the standards, all of the corrective actions, all of the compliance standards, the things that the agency needs to supply to us in order for us to find them in compliance or not. EWP is the electronic working papers. That's the dark one at the bottom. That's the one that we use most heavily as analysts. Is where the analysts record findings and issue corrective actions. Team Central, where's the mouse? Is the outward facing module. That's the website that the agencies go to submit documentation to us.
have you gotten any reaction from the agencies themselves as to whether or not this is a better system than what preceded?
Yes,
What it is.
plenty of. Well, we've gotten mixed feedback. For the most part, the agencies that are using it love it. They can use it, it's easy, they know how to do it, they don't need any hand holding, and they can interact with it at their leisure. Some agencies even work on Sundays, because they can do it whenever they feel like it. The agencies that are having trouble with it, the 4 agencies that are not using it right now, are having trouble because of tech issues that have nothing to do with the website. It's a matter of them getting access to the city's network. And they don't have it otherwise, so that's the reason why it had become an issue. I worked for a long time, well, 3 of the community colleges, Kingsborough, BMCC, and the Bronx community, and Richmond County.
Public
Public
administrator, who
Yeah.
doesn't have a computer. Staten, I thought things were backward in Staten Island, but this is a little ridiculous.
Ouch.
No. We love all our boroughs.
We did a lot of work with Do It, trying to find workarounds and work-throughs, and for the most part, it's done. For the community colleges, it's a matter of having their IT people do whatever it is their part is to be done so that the agencies can get access. But trying to make the move is.
Remember the name Brian Cullen? Write it down. He is the head of IT for CUNY.
Yeah. I feel
He's
like I've
out
heard
of
this
Do It
name.
and worked for Alan Dover many years ago. That may be magic in getting community colleges online.
Definitely keep that.
Brian Cullen. He is still there.
Somehow this name rings familiar to me. So I'm going to go into Team EWP, where the analysts we do most of our work, and show you what it looks like.
I'm glad you're not giving us your password.
Oh, what would you do with it? Just go in there and do some work for me?
No answer.
So these are the current projects that we were talking about earlier. Some of the names may look familiar. I just wanted to give you a preview of when we open the project, we add the relevant standards for that audit type. Right now, we're doing the employment practices audit. So we would only see the standards that pertain to that audit type. And the analyst goes into each section and records the findings. The standard is there, the legal backing for the standard is there, the policies that the standards are based on is there, the audit criteria, what the analyst should be looking for in the documentation, and where exactly in the documentation you should be looking at it. So we gave out questionnaires, or if there's a survey, or the DERF items, this is exactly which question you should be looking for the answer for this standard.
Okay, can I interject?
Sure.
Okay, so, for instance, each preliminary determination we have about 9 topics that we rate the agencies on. So, in each topic, each subject, we call them subject
areas.
Right, subject areas. In each subject area, there are standards, underlying standards, that the agency should be rated on, as you guys know. And so the standard, the audit standard is here in this tab. So that when the analyst is putting in their findings, they're looking at the standard. We also have what criteria does the agency need to provide to show that they fulfill this standard. So it's all right there for the analyst to see. Click on the laws and policies. These are the laws and policies that that the standard is predicated on. So if the standard is supported by the city's policy, or the city's personnel rules, or the American with Disabilities Act, the Human Rights Law, whatever it might be, it's in here so that if the analyst is unclear about, okay, maybe the agency provided this thing, and how does that really matter? They can look back and see all of the supporting information for that standard so that they can make, a sound finding, and they can have their backing for actually giving the
John, question. The reason it took so long to do is because you were putting all of that
Yes.
into the documentation.
Right.
So the amount of time and effort was being sure that you had that, so the end product becomes an easier product for
Right.
the auditor.
Right.
Because they don't have to look up the standard, it's right there in front of them.
Right.
I have a question on access. So like for, say, a larger agency, you'd have an EEO officer, you have an HR director, you have a counsel. Do all 3 of those persons have access at the same time? Is there like a flow order, or is it just the EEO officer that?
No,
So
well,
for EWP, this is only for us. This is
I see.
in-house. We
Right.
haven't gotten to the agency
I see,
facing
okay,
side.
sorry. Okay.
But we will. I'll definitely.
can you click really quick on, I think it's the compliance criteria? No.
This is not a good standard for this. I mean,
Maybe it's the data resource. I just want to show the questions, the source information.
Yeah. I just want to show you that. So it's not
No, the source, the data resources? Okay. So for each standard, we have data collection tools that we send to the agency so that we can collect information on how they comply with this standard. So let's say, for instance, we want to know whether or not they're assessing their recruitment efforts. For question, we might send them, this is the Principal EEO Professionals Questionnaire. Number 26A may have a question that will tell us whether or not they're assessing their recruitment standards, and so forth. We might we might look at the quarterly reports.
or the HR question.
We look at the HR questionnaire. There are different items that we sort of triangulate to prove to us that this agency is assessing their recruitment standards and how. So the analyst knows offhand, by just going into this tab, which question
looking
they
for.
can find the information
Yeah.
from. Right, that's what took us all this time.
So, the flip side of that, so what is the analyst, what judgment does the analyst exercise here? Or is it just looking at the answers and it is nothing more than clicking off that they have an answer? Where do they exercise judgment, or do they exercise judgment?
Well,
Yeah,
they have
analysis
latitude for
doesn't.
judgment in terms of analyzing, what material they were given. So the criteria may be, click on the criteria tab. Compliance criteria, I'm sorry. It may tell the analyst, okay, to identify the job groups experiencing underutilization and identify the titles in the groups, et cetera, et cetera. It's giving them guidance, but since agencies are different and they have different nuances, and this one might, have 5 people and some other agency might have 50,000 or whatever, it depends on what they're giving us. And the analyst sort of has a guide, but the analyst has to pretty much analyze the information and say, okay, well, this document that I was given is good enough that this proves to me that they've done an assessment. There are many different ways agencies assess their recruitment efforts. So that's where the analyst exercises
Judgment.
the judgment. Sorry.
No, go ahead. Thank you. So, for each standard, there's a scorecard, whether the agency is in compliance and partial compliance. As Sharice said, this is where we document the findings. That's all here. And they can attach documentation. So if it's about the EEO policy, you can make a link right there to the document that's on the shared drive, and the document will be looped into EWP. So now Sharice is, or I am reading over this project, and I want to know, why did you say that they're in compliance with this? What documentation did you see? We can just click the link and jump right to the document. It lives right there.
That is majorly important. Can I just say how important this is? Because other than that, the person, the approver, I guess, of the audit is just going through the same paperwork and reading through paperwork to find out where you got that answer so that they can approve it. Here, by just linking it to whatever the document is, we can look right there and say, okay, now we see why you said this. Or, can you give me more documentation? And then they can link other documents.
So you still have a review, you have a built-in review process of the audit.
Right,
Should
and
be needed,
I
yes.
think Eileen's gonna get to that.
And also, with that, if it's a 50-page document, we don't have to sift through the pages to find out where
Right.
in that document. We can bookmark the page and jump right to the page in the document. Highlights and bullets
Control
and
F
and pointers and the
Yeah.
whole 9 yards is all in there.
That's great.
Well, this is an incredible improvement.
Yeah.
It does.
Makes it easy for anybody else to do an analytical job of what you've done and how you've gotten there.
Makes it easier.
Not
Yes.
Thank you.
Efficient, a little more efficient.
So as you can see, the status of all of these, the current audits, are implementation tracking. So I'm going to show you what implementation tracking looks like. This is, as you can see, on the web, because it's both outward and inward facing.
You're going to tell us what the agencies have access to.
Yes, this is the module that the agencies have access to.
So they actually have the ability, if they wanted to find where they've been historically,
Yes,
going forward.
yes.
We're not inputting the old stuff, but going forward, they're going to have the
So as you can see, there are 274 274, is that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
274 corrective actions out there to be monitored. That's for all of the agencies. They all live in the same place. And of course, I'm an administrator, so I'm looking at everything. the analysts, each analyst has their own agency's caseload in their workflow. So you can filter it by the project code, which is the beginning of our resolution numbers, the year and the agency code, or the project name, which is the agency's name.
So if you put in 2016 464C14,
464, yes.
464C14,
464. And ready.
hi there, Arva.
You're welcome. You'll see by this state that those 4 corrective actions plus the final action for the agency head are all in the same status, and that's implemented and approved, audit approved, which means that Maurice has already put her stamp of approval on it. You can see what entity that is, Queensborough Community College, the dates that they implemented the corrective actions, and then if you go into it, you can see the details, the back and forth, who did it, and how. So here's the corrective action, how the agency responded, the contact information as the person who's responsible for implementing the corrective action, the EEPC's response, that is to the
Right.
final determination, the compliance standard that we were just looking at in EWP, the agency sees that, that's the detailed guidelines for how to implement the corrective action. And then this is how they give us status updates. All of these things are reportable, so we can have a report for all of the agencies that are in implementation tracking. We can have a report for an agency and all of the corrective actions that were issued, or we can have a more small or a report for a single corrective action as to the history of the back and forth. What we told them to do, what they said, how they did it, or what the feedback was back and forth, yeah. And that's just as simple as the click of a button. And it's all there, the date and time, and all of the correspondence back and forth. Well, it helps that if this corrective action was issued to 5 different agencies, and we want to know what's the difference between this one and that one, or how this agency went about doing it so fast, because the other agency similarly situated is saying it's impossible to be done, we can look here and just get the guidance from here.
Thank you. Now, this is just an entry question, a dumb entry question, that as you are reviewing the corrective action, who makes the entry into the system? Is there a discussion back and forth, or do they tell you what they're attempting to do? Or do you review what they've entered and then come back and say, it's good enough, or it doesn't?
Sometimes agencies want guidance and they want you to look at the document before they upload it. So sometimes I'll have them email it and I'll just say, no, this is not acceptable, we won't accept it. Or sometimes they just upload it and I can directly respond and they get an email notification saying I've made a response. And then they call me, why wasn't this accepted?
Okay, no, I just trying to
still
understand
interactive.
what goes in between, and because it's nice to say it's all here, but it doesn't happen automatically.
There's
It
still an
isn't as though you
interactive
click,
process.
it isn't as though you
Yeah.
click something and it's automatically going to be there. So there is discussion.
Back and forth.
Now, your role is to review ultimately to make sure that it complies with other things.
That's Marie's role, actually. So Elisha is an approver of the audit. So when the analyst is finished issuing findings and giving the standard corrective actions, and a preliminary determination is issued, then at that point, Maureen and the analyst goes to the agency, discusses the preliminary determination with the agency, figures out whether or not the agency has any more documentation to submit. I think we give them about 2 or 3 days if they have any other documentation. Then we issue the PD and then they respond. And at the point when we have a final and we say that we've agreed with their response or they have to go into monitoring, for each of these actions, Marie actually has to approve whether or not the agency has complied by whatever documentation we give us. So the entire process is interactive from the point where the corrective actions are final with the analyst and the agency, and then Marie approves whatever the analyst does or presents to the agency. And at the end, you know, when all of the corrective actions are implemented, then that's when we tell the analyst that they can do a resolution for the commission. And then it comes to vote.
Okay. I was trying to understand the relationship.
That's a great question. The last thing I just wanted to show quickly is about what we were just talking about, the reports. So these are most important for a snapshot or for commission meetings. We want to know what's the status of these agencies. The projects that are completed, it's just one click of a button and we already have a report that'll tell us the corrective actions that were issued, the projects that were completed. Just like that. So now we have the beginning of the resolution number and the end comes in whichever sequence it is. The agency, the status of the agency, non-mayoral, mayoral, who's on the project and the status of it. Within, if you delve into it, it has the corrective actions listed and the timeline. When was the preliminary determination issued? When was the final determination issued? When did the agency respond? Or did the agency respond? All of that stuff is right in that report. So we have it here and we can turn it into a PDF or an Excel document. Just like that. Any questions? Somebody missed.
Oh, and the other thing is, at the point when the audit, the final determination is issued, Elisha actually sends me an email, and I'm the one that releases the audits into the implementation tracking. So I can see when the audit started, how long it took for
Yeah.
the analyst to complete the audit, whether or not it's on time, all of those things, and then I release it into implementation and tracking, and that's when it goes into the compliance monitoring phase.
Another dumb question. This should make your annual report really rather easy to do. Statistics about it.
Easier.
Yeah,
I mean,
in terms of counting the agencies.
Yeah,
and-
no, it's
Right.
statistical. I mean, I'm not suggesting that there aren't going to be other elements of it, but to the extent that the audit portion of it is an element, there is really, this has computerized that. You now will have that data. What you want to say about that data is a separate issue.
Right.
But the data itself is very easily accessible as opposed to having to go through paper documents.
Right.
It's not right there. Well, I, for one, having pushed the automation until I was blue in the face, I'm quite thrilled that it happened, and thrilled that you found the money, and thrilled that you were dogged about getting what you wanted out of the supplier, which took a lot of translation and discussion, and their understanding what you were talking about. But it looks to me like you should be satisfied with the end product because it is doing what you wanted to do, and it's allowing you to free your staff to do other things.
Honestly, I just want to really, right now, commend Elisha. Elisha has been instrumental in communicating with these agencies.
She should just hope she's finished with you, dear.
No, I
Who
mean,
knows what the next
she's
job is?
alleviated a lot of the responsibility for me so that I can devote attention to other things. It is one of the reasons I was even able to try to put together this new research unit because Alicia has taken on some of the responsibility, or most of the responsibility for the teammate stuff, because I was up to here with like teammates. So
It's much better than what you were doing before.
Wow. So this is the, I missed the beginning, but I'm
sorry.
sitting here in awe, like,
Yeah.
really?
Arga, it's terrific.
Yeah. It's fantastic. Good for you.
Yeah, you can, you're done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, really, this has been
Thank you.
wonderful.
Good job.
New issues.
Or new business, new
We don't
business.
have any new business to report at the moment. We do want to welcome our guest. That's
Who's our guest?
That's me, the deer in the headlights.
here. What's your name?
My name is Lorna Dixon Saunders. I work at Teachers Retirement System.
Oh, okay. Did we say anything about teachers' retirement?
Yes, you did.
Okay.
But we want to welcome you, because we don't normally.
I'm very impressed with what I'm seeing.
You came on a really good day.
Actually, great.
Yeah, to
Great.
learn about the internal processes.
She came for a resolution of
Oh,
compliance.
no. I was just curious as to what actually happens in the meeting, and it's a public meeting, so I said, why
You
not?
said
I
it.
went to work, dropped my bag, and just came, because we're at 55 Water Street,
Mm-hmm.
and said, will you come on up? So I came here the wrong day yesterday, so she saw me, but I made it back. Thank you for
Welcome.
welcoming me.
Welcome. Okay, so if there's nothing else?
Can I move for the adjournment?
I second.
All in favor? Aye. We're finished.